Were you ever wondering which countries you should select in conquests? It's usually quite difficult to choose which one is exactly the right conquest which you should play. Well, listen up, today I've got you some tips on which countries you should choose and which countries you should choose if you want to have an easy conquest or if you want to have a hard conquest, which ones are challenging, which ones are easy. I've got it all. I will rank it from hardest to easiest, beginning with the friendly country Sardinia. Now, Sardinia used to be the best country to play. I made a whole video on it. But nowadays, Sardinia is super hard because the French can just spam out really good units in Corsica. Your best bet is probably even just go for Spain or go for Italy before you're gonna land in Corsica. They just spam, every round they spam 2 units there. They basically over-nerfed it after the update. Sardinia is now almost impossible. Even I was my super generals even to see. I've got really good generals, have almost no chance in doing it. It was very high tech, so don't even touch Sardinia, except if you want to play a super challenging conquest. The second hardest country to play as is Sicilies. Now, why is Sicily so hard? Well, it's the same thing like Sardinia. The whole French navy, they first usually capture Sardinia quite easily, and then they'll spam out the good units in Corsica, and it's just really hard. It's so that in 1798 conquest nowadays, the French side has a big advantage over the anti-French coalition, and yeah, it's just really hard to actually do something. And then especially when the Ottomans join, you just get wrecked. Now, coming in at number 13, you also have a very challenging country, which is Poland. Poland, being surrounded by Prussia, Russia and Austria, has big troubles defending against these major countries. And I mean, I did a video on it, and the tactic I did was just rush down on Austria and just try to somehow establish a position, do the usual French coalition tricks like buying in Sardinia and I mean just getting into war, and Portugal too, and then keeping Russia and Prussia out of the war. But still, Poland is very hard. If you don't get it, you have to have quite a good timing. You have to really rush Austria in the right time, be able to turn around on Prussia. Pretty hard. At number 12 we've got Portugal, which by itself is quite difficult because you have to fight off the lot stronger Spanish. And I've already did a video on it. I managed to do it, but it was quite the fight. What you have to do is you have to rush for Sevilla, and maybe you can get La Coruña, and then you have to somehow try to, with stronger generals and better tactics, you have to somehow manage to overpower Spain. But once you manage Spain, the whole campaign is just very easy to do, and you can just rush through the rest of France. But the hard part is actually surviving against Spain. I mean, I would say if you are unexperienced, you probably will lose the first one. You have to once fail before to actually know how to do Portugal. But if you can do it, it's quite challenging and fun. At number 11 is Prussia itself. Now, Prussia actually, I first thought they had quite a good position and they're fighting quite well, but after the recent update, I find it very hard as Prussia, because pretty soon you have a zerg of enemies coming toward you. And the Danes usually tend to do better than the Swedes, and the French will come after you. I don't know, it's a weird one. It feels like it should be easy, but I find it quite hard. Except if you maybe rush for for Poland. But somehow, if you don't do that, it's not even as easy. At number 10 comes the HRE. Now, the HRE is not too bad. The problem is just you have far too many fronts at once. You have to fight the Polish, the French, the Italians and the Ottomans when they join. It's not like super hard to actually manage to win with the Austrians, but it's super hard to not get just the micromanaging. You don't lose cities by not paying attention. It's not necessarily a hard to win challenge, but it's a hard to play challenge. After that we have the French, and it's almost the same reasons again. You have to fight the Brits, you have to fight the Austrians, you have to go and help out in Italy, you have to fend off the British fleet. It's just a lot of micromanaging, and it's just annoying. Not necessarily hard to win, but hard to play again. At number 8 we have the Spanish, and with the Spanish, now we're slowly getting to the let's say medium till easy countries. And the Spanish, first they just have to kill off Portugal. It's not necessarily very hard, But the point is, you'd have to rush all your troops to the French cities. You have to help Italy and attack England, and yeah, you just have to watch out that your allies don't get overrun while you're still dealing with Portugal. But usually it's not super hard to win with Spain. After that, the Russians come, and now we're actually, I would say, now it sort of gets to the easier ones. Here it's again more or less of a lot of micromanaging. You have to go and help the Swedes, the Prussians, you have to kill off the Poles, help the Austrians, and yeah, when the Ottomans join, it's usually quite a pain. But what I tend to do is usually just hold here, hold in this general area, and then try to rush the French, and yeah, it's quite possible. Now we're already at the easy countries in my opinion, and I think Italy is quite easy to do. You just have to help the French. You just declare war on Sardinia, it'll be gone in like 5 moves, and then hold off the Austrians, and then you have to go and take Italy. It's usually quite easy to do, just because you have got the French assistance, and you can just piggyback right, and then you get in the Ottomans early, and you'll just run over the enemies. After that, at number 5, the Ottomans is quite easy to play, just because usually they join very late, they join very early. You can blitz through Austria, it's really easy to do, and then you can go and help Italy and so on. That's quite an easy conquest. You just have to, don't get overrun by the Russians. I usually just blitz through Austria till about the Vienna line here, and then you can focus on the Russians and kill them off. At number 4, I found the British Empire to be super easy to play. Usually it's not as hard to get a beachhead, but I usually don't prioritize that too much. Kill off the enemies here in France, and what I usually prioritize on is, with the British fleet, I just land in Athens. They usually just leave Athens alone. You go and try and land somewhere in the Ottoman Empire, and yeah, with this fleet you can try to land in Sevilla, help the Portuguese. Well, helping the Portuguese is usually quite a topic. But if you can grab Sevilla, usually it's quite easy to then go on and defeat the Spanish, and even though it's a bit of a multitasking again, it's quite easy to do. Now we come to the very easy countries, which are all of the Scandinavian countries. Now Sweden I found quite easy to play as. I'm not quite sure if it's like that still after the update, otherwise I have to rank it a little bit lower. But you just have to go and defeat Denmark, and from then on you can just run through whole Europe, because when Denmark is gone, you can then also just run here through Amsterdam and everybody. Usually it's quite easy, especially with the Russians also fighting off the Poles. The Poles usually capitulate after some moves when they joined, and yeah, you just have to watch out that your southern allies don't get demolished, but otherwise it's quite easy. After that, Denmark is the second easiest country to play. You just have to, again, like, it's very similar to Sweden. You just grab Sweden, just grab the Scandinavian countries, and from then on you can go and destroy the Russians, and the British can be a later priority. It's usually not too hard. Just hold usually around Hamburg and just crash through the Swedish Empire. And the easiest country of them all is the weed country, the Dutch. I made a whole video on explaining how to easily do it as the Dutch. Just a little basic thing is build a general, hold, don't do anything, pay your allies. And it's generally quite a good guide for all small countries on the French side, but the Dutch is it's just so easy to do. You just don't do anything. It takes about 15 minutes to win as Holland, which is a super short time, where you get medals and you get tons of gold. Yeah, it's just easy to do, very reliable also. Watch that video if you want to know how to do it. So this is my opinion on which are the easiest countries to play as in 1798. Please leave suggestions if I should do this also for the other 2 conquests. This was my own idea for once, it wasn't anybody else's which I took. So yeah, I also can be creative. Thank you guys for watching, and bye. Hands on your body, I don't wanna waste no time.